The jungle hid everything. The enemy was invisible, and the weapons used in this war changed modern warfare forever. This is every important weapon used in the Vietnam War, from the rifles that defined a generation to the booby traps that haunted every single step. Starting off with the sidearms, the personal weapons every soldier carried when everything else ran dry. Colt M 1911, a 1.45 ACP, stopping power in a single pull. American soldiers had carried this pistol since World War I, and it was still saving lives decades later in the jungles of Southeast Asia. Smith & Wesson Mark 22, the Hush Puppy, designed specifically for SEAL teams, suppressed, subsonic, and deadly silent, used to quietly eliminate sentries without alerting the surrounding jungle. Tokarev TT-33, standard sidearm of North Vietnamese officers, simple, reliable, and chambered in 7.62 millimeters. Captured examples were prized by American special forces operating behind enemy lines. Makarov PM, Soviet-supplied pistol carried by NVA commanders. Compact and dependable. Its double-action trigger made it fast into action in the chaos of close-quarters combat. Next up, rifles and carbines. The weapons that defined the ground war in Vietnam on every side. Colt M 1601, lightweight and revolutionary, but controversial. Early models jammed repeatedly in jungle humidity, costing soldiers their lives. Later improvements made it one of the most effective combat rifles ever produced. M14 rifle. Heavy 7.62 millimeters NATO powerhouse. Exceptional at long range, but too long and too heavy for dense jungle fighting. Quickly replaced by the lighter M16 as the war progressed. A K-47, the weapon that defined the enemy. Reliable in mud, water, and humidity that destroyed American rifles. Its distinctive sound on the battlefield told every soldier exactly who was firing, and from where. A KM, modernized and lighter version of the AK-47, mass-produced and supplied in enormous quantities by the Soviet Union and China, became the backbone of NVA and Viet Cong firepower throughout the war. SKS carbine, semi-automatic and fitted with a folding bayonet. Older than the AK, but still widely carried by Viet Cong guerrillas. Simple enough to maintain with almost no equipment in jungle conditions. CAR-15, shortened barrel, compact enough for vehicle crews and tunnel rats. Massive muzzle flash in low light, but perfect for the tight spaces and sudden ambushes that defined Vietnam combat. M1 carbine, lightweight and easy to handle. Issued to South Vietnamese forces whose smaller frames struggled with heavier American rifles. Over 6 million were produced, many still in use decades after World War II. Type 56 assault rifle, Chinese-manufactured copy of the AK-47, supplied in massive numbers to North Vietnam, virtually identical in function to the Soviet original, equally deadly in the hands of Viet Cong fighters, bringing us to submachine guns, weapons built for close range, fast movement, and jungle ambushes. M3 grease gun, slow 450 rounds per minute cyclic rate meant better trigger control. Operators didn't burn through magazines in seconds during close-quarters firefights in narrow jungle trails. Thompson M1A1, heavy but devastating. American forces had carried this since World War II. Its .45 ACP rounds hit hard at close range. Exactly the kind of sudden, brutal contact Vietnam demanded. PPSH-41, Soviet-designed drum magazine holding 71 rounds. Supplied to Viet Cong fighters for decades before the war. Its high cyclic rate of fire created overwhelming close-range suppression in ambush situations. K-50M, Vietnamese modified version of the PPSH-41. Lighter and more compact than the original. Local workshops produced thousands of these, keeping Viet Cong fighters armed even when supply lines were cut. Now let's talk precision. Sniper rifles that turned the jungle into a killing ground at range. Remington M40, bolt-action precision built on a commercial hunting rifle action. Marine Corps snipers used this to engage targets at ranges that seemed impossible in dense vegetation and shifting light. Winchester Model 70, the rifle that built legends, Carlos Hathcock, America's most feared sniper, used this platform to achieve kills that redefined what was possible with a single carefully placed round. M21 Sniper Weapon System, semi-automatic platform based on the M14, allowed faster follow-up shots than bolt-action alternatives, gave designated marksmen the ability to engage multiple targets in rapidly changing jungle contact. Mosin Nagant. World War II-era bolt action still serving NVA snipers decades later. Accurate, rugged, and chambered in the hard-hitting 7.62 by 54R cartridge. Simple enough to maintain with minimal resources in the field. Perhaps the most feared of all. Machine guns that pinned entire units down and shaped every major engagement. M60 machine gun. American crews called it the pig for its weight. Fired 7.62mm NATO at 550 rounds per minute. Every infantry squad carried one. It was the backbone of American fire superiority in the field. M2 Browning, 50 caliber. Originally designed in 1918 and still devastating decades later. Vehicle mounted and firebase mounted, its half-inch rounds tore through cover that stopped every other weapon cold. M134 minigun. 6 rotating barrels firing up to 6,000 rounds per minute. Helicopter mounted and capable of saturating entire jungle clearings in seconds. The sound alone was enough to break enemy assaults. RPD light machine gun. Standard squad automatic weapon of NVA and Viet Cong units. Fed from a 100-round drum magazine. Lightweight enough to move quickly through jungle terrain while still delivering sustained suppressive fire. DSK heavy machine gun. Soviet-supplied 12.7mm heavy machine gun. Used against American aircraft, vehicles, and fortified positions. Its heavy rounds could down helicopters and punch through armored personnel carriers. PKM lightweight Soviet machine gun, weighing just 16 pounds. Reliable in the mud and humidity that destroyed less robust weapons. Gave NVA units a portable but genuinely powerful sustained fire capability. Rounding out the close quarters toolkit, shotguns built for the jungle's sudden brutal ambushes. Remington 870. Pump action reliability in the tightest jungle contacts. Loaded with buckshot, a single round could cut through dense vegetation and still deliver lethal force against multiple targets simultaneously. Ithaca 37. Bottom ejecting design prevented spent casings from hitting left-handed shooters. Favored by tunnel rats and point men who needed maximum firepower in the first fraction of a second of contact. Next, grenade launchers. Explosive firepower without the weight of carrying a separate weapon system. M79 Thumper. Break-action single-shot launcher firing 40mm grenades. The distinctive thump of firing was instantly recognizable across any battlefield. Accurate to 350 meters in the hands of an experienced operator. M203. Mounted directly under the M16 barrel, giving every rifleman explosive capability. Combined rifle and grenade launcher in a single package that changed how infantry squads approached jungle combat. Now, the heavy hitters, rocket launchers, and anti-tank weapons that destroyed vehicles, bunkers, and fortifications. RPG-7. The weapon that haunted American forces throughout the war. Rocket-propelled grenade effective against helicopters, armored vehicles, and fortified positions. Simple enough for any fighter to operate after minimal training. M72. Law. Disposable rocket launcher weighing just 5 pounds. Extends from 25 to 35 inches in seconds. Every infantryman carried one, giving individual soldiers anti-armor capability without the burden of heavy weapons. M40 recoilless rifle, mounted on vehicles and firebase perimeters. Its 106mm round could destroy bunkers and fortified positions that small arms fire could never penetrate, no matter how much ammunition was expended. Bringing us to anti-aircraft weapons, because in Vietnam, controlling the sky meant controlling the war. SA-7 Grail. Shoulder-fired infrared-guided missile supplied by the Soviet Union, locked onto aircraft heat signatures and gave NVA units the ability to threaten American air superiority for the first time in the war. DSHK in anti-aircraft role. The same heavy machine gun turned skyward became one of the most dangerous threats to American helicopters. Positioned along known flight paths, it brought down dozens of aircraft throughout the conflict. Next, mortars. Indirect fire that reached inside fire bases and punished positions that thought they were safe. M29 81mm mortar. Standard American indirect fire weapon with a maximum range exceeding 4,500 meters. Three-man crew could maintain sustained fire rates that provided crucial support during firebase attacks and jungle engagements. 82mm mortar, NVA. Soviet-supplied indirect fire weapon used to bombard American firebases at night. Crews would fire several rounds and immediately relocate before counter-battery fire could find their position. And finally, the grenades, explosives, and traps that made every step in Vietnam a calculated risk. M26 fragmentation grenade. Standard American fragmentation grenade with a 4-second fuse delay. Pre-notched coil wire created predictable fragmentation patterns, lethal within a 15-meter radius of detonation. M18A1 Claymore mine. Front toward enemy marking saved countless lives. 700 steel balls spray outward in a 60-degree arc to 50 meters. Used to defend perimeters and trigger devastating ambushes along jungle trails. Punji sticks and booby traps. No weapon caused more psychological damage than these. Sharpened bamboo stakes hidden in camouflaged pits, sometimes coated with poison or waste, cost nothing to make and terrorized every patrol that entered Viet Cong territory.